7 months ago, I sold my Nikon D500, which was a crop set camera, great for wildlife, and I bought the Z6II. At the time, quite a few people had said, "You're going to regret it, Charles. You'll see that you'll have realized that you've made a mistake." I haven't. I love my Z6II more than I ever liked the D500. But today I want to share the cost of going from a crop sensor camera to a full frame, and also the gear that I use these days for my photography, whether it's wildlife, whether it's landscape, whether it's astro, because when you go from a crop sensor camera to a full frame, there's a cost involved. Whether you like it or not, there is a cost involved because you have to sell your crop sensor lenses, DX lenses for Nikons, and you have to buy full frame lenses. Theoretically, you can use DX lenses meant for crop sensor cameras on a full frame. But why would you? You're losing half of the megapixels for your full frame. You go to a full frame camera to get the most of the camera, not to have yourself limited to a DX lens. Because on the old digital SLRs for Nikon, you could choose whether you stayed in DX mode or whether you went to full frame, and it allowed you just a little bit extra movement. The Z series cameras, Nikon has stopped that. The camera automatically sends you into DX mode because they say this is the best mode when you're using a DX lens. I had to sell 3 lenses. I sold my Tokina 11-20, which was great for ultra wide angle photography, for astrophotography. I had to sell the Nikon 18-140mm lens. That was my walk around lens. And also the Nikon 70-300, which I bought only about 6 months before that, because when I went out sometimes, I'd lent my D500 to my daughter, and the 200-500 was a bit heavy for her. So the 70-300 was a great walk around lens when she wanted to take wildlife photos. What have I had to buy to go to full frame? Well, the first lens that I bought was the Nikon 24-85. And I'd said to myself, well, for the time being, this is all I'm going to use. I'm going to get used to shooting the 24-85. It's around 16 mils on the wide side. And I thought like, yeah, that's going to be enough. But when we went to Thailand, I realized that I needed more. I was really limited because some of the places I went to, I had to do panoramas to get the whole scene in, because I thought 16 mils was going to be enough, but it wasn't. And about 2 months ago, I bought an ultra wide angle lens. And what did I buy? The Tokina 17-35mm f4. Now I know I had the Tokina 11-20 f2.8, but f4 one stop more. It should still be all right for astro, and with the Z6II that is so good at high ISO, I know my ISO is going to be much higher, but it's going to make do because I don't do that much astro anymore. But I've used this lens already quite a bit, and it is phenomenal. One thing that you will notice is I don't have any Z series lenses. The cost of Z series lenses for me is just out of the question for the time being. And don't feel that even though you've gone to a Z series camera, you have to get Zen lenses. All you need is the Nikon adapter, and you can use any Nikon FX lens or third proprietary lenses like I do here. Because I love Tokina, I found they are so good value for money. I only paid $400 for this Tokina 17-35mm lens. Photography is already an expensive hobby. I tried to buy gear that is value for money, and I found Tokina lenses are very good value for money, especially comes to ultra wide lenses like this lens here. Now, the only lens that I kept was the Nikon 200-500. Why? Because it's already a full frame lens. One of the reasons why I bought the Tokina 17-35 is because it has an 82mm front thread. So all my screw-on filters that I have, I can use with the Tokina 17-35. And if I'm using the Nikon 24-85mm, then all I do is use the step ring from 72mm to 82mm. This is why I bought the Tokina. I didn't have to go back out, sell these filters and buy new filters, because filters are very expensive. Now, just for wildlife, I had to buy a microphone so that I can record the sounds from my camera. The onboard microphone is great, much better than the old Nikons, but still, for capturing wildlife, an external microphone is so much better. So I went out and I bought myself a Rode microphone. I've got quite a few tripods, but I've got different tripod heads that I use. This is the latest tripod head that I've bought just for taking wildlife. It's not a bald head, it is just a tilt head. And it's not panned, so it just goes forward and back like so. What I've done to give myself the ability to go sideways like that is I've got a little rotator that locks onto the bottom here, and this allows me to tilt it sideways. This is how I can track birds when I'm doing wildlife videos or when I'm taking photos. My other tripod head, where I use for landscape, is a LEOFOTO. Very stable, doesn't move at all. If I'm doing astro or doing long exposures, I've never had any movement in there. Believe it or not, I have 4 tripods. One is just with the ZV-1 at the moment. It's called the professional tripod, but I bought it just for YouTube. If I'm not doing YouTube videos, it just stays home. This is the first tripod that I had here. It is a Manfrotto 055 XP Pro. It is very heavy, 2.1 kilos without a tripod head. The only time that I use this now is if I'm going into salt water. So if I'm by the beach and all that, I'm still going to use it because I know I'm not going to walk far. But for most of my other photography, I don't use it. I have the tripod that's on my camera now. This is my backup tripod. The tripod that I use most of the time now is this one here, the ARTCISE AS80C. If you're looking for a carbon fiber tripod that is not going to break your balance, then definitely look at the ARTCISE series. This is only around $240 for a carbon fiber tripod. It is so good value. Never knew of the brand until a friend of mine told me that he had one, because I was telling him that my Manfrotto was just too heavy to carry, and he said, just look at this brand. He's got the 90C model, which is much heavier, but this is so good. And what makes this tripod great is it has a self-leveling head. Taking photos is so easy. I don't have to worry about when I'm panning that it's not going to be straight. I can level the tripod head, and when I'm taking video, I can pan left to right, up and down, and I'm going to get a straight horizon. This is why I bought this tripod. The only other accessories that I use, but that I already had when I had the D500, was my panorama gear. I'll put a link up here for all the gear related to panorama photography, because if you're into panoramic photography, you definitely need a rotator. This I only use if I'm doing multi-row panoramas. Most of the time that is astro. If I'm just out and about shooting landscapes or shooting a stormscape, I'll only use the rotator. I won't use this. But if you're serious about panoramic photography, then definitely look at these. I'll put a link in the description of this panorama rig because it is definitely value for money. I also have a monopod. Now I do use the monopod still these days if I feel that using my tripod is going to be a hassle. Sometimes I'm going to be walking into scrub and all that, where using a tripod is not reliable. I can't carry my camera around on a sling anymore. It's just too much weight for me to carry. So it's either tripod or a monopod. The last 2 bits that I have is a Pluto trigger, and I use this when I'm shooting stormscapes and that there's lightning about, because this saves you so many photos, because you can set it up with the app that it only takes photos when a lightning strike happens. So you don't have to set yourself, like let's say in continuous time lapse, to take photo after photo hoping that you're going to get one photo with a lightning strike. This allows that only when a lightning strike happens that it will take the photo. The last bit of gear I have, I've had this for quite a while, is external intervalometer, and I've done a video on using an external intervalometer and why it is quite good to use compared to the internal intervalometers of cameras for doing time lapses. And I still use this sometimes if I'm doing certain types of time lapses. So that's the gear that I have. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up, stay safe, enjoy photography, and I'll see you next time.